Everyone's heard that employees are your biggest asset, they're also your biggest liability. And another thing that I think many doctors forget, even though they know it, is that not all employees are on the same level of growth and development. So, what's very important is to have open dialogue and communication between the doctor and each team member. So I have one of my team members with me today who's sitting in here, and we're going to do. I'm going to explain a little bit about a growth conference actually and what that's about. If you're interested in the growth conference form that I use in my practice, you can email me at drdeems@drdondeems.com, and I'll send you the file so that you can use it in your own practice. This tool is designed to get the employee to think about what their role is in the practice, and especially how they are being a leader in their role in the practice. Being a leader is possible for every single team member in the practice. It's not that the practice has one leader. Your practice should have multiple leaders. In fact, everybody should look to be a leader in their position. So I use this form. It's called an employee growth conference. You can call it a team member growth conference, staff member growth conference, whatever you want to do with it. And it's got some very simple questions, and this is how it's used. The first thing that we do is we set a date that we're going to meet. So I may say, Portia, let's have a growth conference on March the 1st. And you might say, great. And so we'll pick a time and a date. What I'll do is I'll give her this blank form, and what she's supposed to do is she's supposed to spend about 15 minutes or 30 minutes or however long it may take her to answer a couple pages of some questions that get her to think about what her role is and her position in the practice in areas that she sees that she needs improvement, things that she needs to work on. And from that, as I listen to her when we actually meet, what I'll decide is how, and I'll ask her is, how can I best support you in your growth as a team member? And what we'll do is we'll put together an action plan. And that action plan will be a way that I can nurture and support whatever she's doing. It may be some kind of training she needs. She may need equipment. There may be something that she just needs to be her very best and to continue her growth in the practice. So it is your responsibility to be 100% committed to the success of each of your employees. And like it or not, if you're not 100% committed, guess what? They're going to fail. So the growth conference might go something like this, and I'm just going to turn to her, and we're going to do this kind of impromptu. I might say, Portia, I'm glad we're here today with our growth conference, and I see here that you've filled out your information and everything. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to hear what you have to say. So I'm going to pause there. That's all that needs to be said by the doctor, okay? Doctors, your job is to listen to your employee, listen to your team member, listen to your staff member, whatever you want to call them. And you want to listen very intently and go through section by section and be curious about where they are, questions that they may have, etc. Listen to the little voice inside your head, that intuition that may be telling you that maybe they're kind of holding themselves back, or maybe they're not really giving it their all. Whatever it is, address that with them in a private setting so that they can feel that they're more engaged in a better part of the team. So we would go through all these questions, and she would just talk, and about 80% of the conversation is just her talking. What we would do at the end, as I mentioned previously, is we would develop an action plan. And I would ask her, how is it that I can best support her in each of those action steps? We would then set a time for a follow-up. And the follow-up is very important because we just don't want to meet once and forget about it. That would be silly. So we want to set a timeline that we want to get together again. I recommend it be no longer than 6 months away, because again, at 6 months, it's ideal to have another growth conference with each staff member. Now, in case you're rolling your eyes going, oh my God, I've got to meet with all these employees, it doesn't really take that much time. You'll find that most of these can be accomplished in 20 or 30 minutes, but if you're not having them very often, it may take an hour. But that hour is a great investment in your practice and in your employees. So I encourage you to have these kinds of conferences rather than the dreaded performance evaluations where I'm grading the employee, because employees hate those, don't they? Don't you?
Yes.
Yes. So I would encourage you to do that instead of the performance reviews. This is a very nurturing and encouraging way to have open communication between the doctor and his team member, grow that employee, and have a harmonious, healthy workplace. So I hope that tip helps you. And again, if you would like a copy of this form, just send me an email and say you saw me on YouTube, and I'll be happy to send it out. Thanks.